Welcome back to CNC71. It's time to show you what we have done with this beautiful E46.
In previous episodes you've been able to see how we were assembling the engine with forged internals. Then you could also check out the process of creating a billet valve cover, and I did a quick runabout around the setup of the roll cage. You definitely need to check those videos out if you haven't already, and you also can't forget about checking out the video that Drift HQ shot while they were in our HQ. And I've also did a little bit of coverage of our car out there, so check it out. It's no surprise that most changes happened under the hood, so I think that it's the best time to pop it up and talk about it. Okay, I'd like to start our tour with exhaust manifold. Les's garage did a very special set of headers for us in order to keep the AC intact. Also, his hyperspool system makes sure that exhaust gases are escaping in the most efficient way possible with space constraints he had to work with. As you can see, it's not very much room out here, and from on this side you can see it right now because of the heat shielding, but there is not much room. I think that it's around 1 centimeter wide. When we were planning this manifold, we agreed on using 3 EGT thermocouples, and I think that this will give us very valuable data in order to keep our engine running happy and without any issues. We're going to dive into technical explanation of this solution into future videos, so make sure you're going to like, subscribe and hit the bell in order not to miss it. Okay, so since we've covered the exhaust part of the engine, now it's time for the intake part of the engine. We've decided not to fabricate our own manifold, and looking back, we could have made a better choice. The product we've received needed a lot of fabrication work in order to close the hood even, because we had to move the throttle body flange, because you couldn't have closed the hood, so hence we've cut it out, but it wasn't closing anyway, so then we decided to move the flange so it is clearing now. What was also a problem in this product is that we couldn't have fit this cabin filter housing in because the fuel rail was in collision with it. So we've had to modify the fuel rail, and also we've had to drill this hole for temperature/pressure sensor of the fuel, but that's on us and we were conscious about it. Next in line, the welds around injector housings were leaking because they weren't welded all around. Thus, there was air leak. I think last of the problems with this product is that O-rings that were supplied with it has torn apart after only one event, and I think that they were supposed to withstand the heat and other conditions in this application. So all in all, the only thing we didn't have to make from scratch is like the pipes and the fab work around the plenum. Since we are around the intake part, let's talk about the throttle body. It's from Hellcat, so American friends will be in awe, but surprisingly it was a very cheap solution in comparison to the other ones. We needed to bolt it into the intake manifold, so we had to machine this little funny looking adapter, and then we needed to connect our intake plumbing into the throttle body, so we did another adapter. And as you can see, these are not traditional silicone hoses, but they are quick release V-bands, and they are also moving. So as you can see, this solution is, in our opinion, very user-friendly, it's very reliable, and it is supposed to withstand much higher boost numbers than we are aiming for. It's time to cover our fuel system. The tank is stock. There was no swirl pad yet, I think. Maybe we'll upgrade later. We've changed the fuel pump for GST 520. So it is also the part of future-proofing the setup, and the lines also are stuck up to the engine bay. And in the engine bay, we've decided to use our partner SPD parts, AN fittings, hoses, and everything around the connecting wise. When you are building a custom fuel system, you need to think about regulating the pressure in the system itself. So SPD parts came with a solution. Fuel pressure regulator is supposed to withstand 900 horsepower and is also E45 compatible. Also, what you can also see out here, we have these very nice quick coupling connections. Check it out. Boom! No leaks. You can disassemble it in a matter of seconds, and when you will pop those bad boys off, you can just unplug this one V-band, bolt the intake manifold out, and you're good to go. You can pull it out. I think this is also a very important thing when planning a build like this, to make it easy to service. Next part of our fuel system are the injectors. We decided to go with Bosch's 630 cc's. It is reliable, everyone is using it, so I think there's not much more to cover out here. For the intake and exhaust already, I think that my vital point in this engine bay is our billet valve cover. As you can see, we've changed the ignition coils into VAG ones. Filler cap is threaded, not like put in and twist like the stock one. It is stock gasket compatible, and it has one crankcase ventilation port, but it is enough and sufficient, and we haven't had any problems with anything around this area. If you want to find out more about this valve cover, you definitely need to check out the video that Cyprian is making a tour around it. Since we've built such a nice looking engine, we had to control it. We've decided to use Link ECU G4X Fury. Custom wiring harness was needed to be done, and we've opted for a bulkhead connector. Idea behind this was that we're able to unplug one connector and take the engine out without having to disconnect anything else. Configuring everything was very simple. It was well documented by a manufacturer, and also support is very responsive and committed into actually helping you. And I was able to start the car and tune it is a very strong word, but I was able to make it idle and make its way to the flatbed under its own power, and it was my first adventure with such a thing, so I think that that is something else in order to, like, you never had done anything like this, you're just reading a manual, doing some beep 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 beep, and the car works. A very important element of any project is ensuring that you can measure temperatures, pressures, and other signal metrics without inaccuracies and interference. This ensures your engine remains safe by avoiding incorrect readings that could lead to catastrophic failure, and happy because smooth signal ensures that the output delivery is smooth also. Thus, we've opted for using Bosch sensors. And you can see that we are using for monitoring the temperatures and pressures, we're using one sensor which takes care of both. For fuel, temperature and pressure, air, pressure and temperature, and oil in the place of stock sensor, pressure and temperature also. Now let's talk about turbos. We've chose Garrett G25 500 turbo with 0.72 exhaust housing. Is it small? Yes. Is it spooling early? Oh yes. Does it sound cool? Oh yes, definitely. Is it giving 550 horsepower? But I think that it's still enough for our application. Thanks to V-band connectors everywhere, like here, the moving V-band I was talking about, and here for the downpipe, and at the bottom, in order to make it bolt to the exhaust manifold, there is a V-band also. Taking it out is a breeze. It's like five minutes. Garrett is recommending to put water cooling into the housing. So what we did is put a T-part into the heater, run a line this way, machined a very nice looking adapter in order to have a fittings, and we've supplied the water into the turbo and wastegate, and we've returned with the water from the turbo and wastegate into another adapter that is right here. You may say that putting out the radiator temperature sensor out is not a good idea, but we're using coolant sensor from the cylinder head, and during our adventures with this car we haven't had a problem with blowing a holes or anything like that at all, and the temperatures were around 103 degrees Celsius max, even when the car shut down after doing a hot lap around very hot alt-race. So I think that it may not be ideal, but it works, so we don't have to touch it anymore. And while we are in the topic of cooling system, the radiator is stock E46 323i radiator. Nothing was done to it. The hoses are stock, everything, basically the whole cooling system is stock, and it works. As you can see, we're running a quite big oil cooler for the engine and a power steering cooler, and they're doing their job very good because Link ECU safety features built in by our tuner haven't kicked even once. And for the power steering system, I think that the greatest indicator that it's working well is that the cap, or I have to say drain hole, is dry as pepper. You can't see any residue from overflowing fluid. So yeah, it works. You just need to take care of your power steering system and it works, even with such a heat-soaking car as this.
Michał, it looks really great underneath the car, and this exhaust sounds amazing, and it looks really beefy. How wide is that?
Well, I'm glad you're asking, because it's a 3-inch pipe through the whole car, and the very cool feature about this exhaust is that this section was pressed into a press in order to achieve oval shape, because if you take a look at the stock frame rails, if the pipe was round, we would have much more problems with the clearance, and yeah, even though we've squeezed it in order to get more room, we still managed to scrape it, so yeah. And also, while we're here, it's worth mentioning that we've created a custom muffler, because when we were building the car we thought, well, it may be quite loud, so it may be a good idea to put the muffler from the previous edition of this car. But no, it was too quiet and we had to source these big boy pipes. It's like really big. And we've made something like this, and now it really sounds amazing. Yeah. Wastegate, TurboSmart ProGate 50. We wanted to get something that's reliable and is future-proof in terms of going bigger turbo and getting more power. And also we decided to put water cooling for the wastegate also.
While we are here, I see there's like a pump here and it looks pretty custom solution here. Like, why is it here and why you went that route?
Yeah, this is also a very good question. Well, as you might know, you need to drain the oil from the turbo. There are a few solutions on the market, and one of which is to go into the oil sump, but you risk getting oil level above the fitting. Then you can drill with fitting into the front cover, but as you can see we have AC compressor here, so it is out of the option. We've decided to create a custom line which returns to the oil dipstick. We've welded AM fitting out there, right here. And we use scavenge pump in order to transport the oil from the turbo to this place, and also to make sure that oil will drain fast enough, or in case of pump failure or anything unexpected, we've put this overfill tank out here with a line which overflows obviously, and this is our fail safe in order to save the turbo.
Yeah, very, very nice, and as I heard, there was like no problems with that part, but what the hell is this? Like, why is that here?
Yeah, you might think that it's brake cooling, but no, because obviously you don't have the second one. It's the cooling line in order to cool down the alternator, to give it fresh air, so that it don't have to suck the very hot air in the engine bay, and it just gets the air from.
How many alternators have you killed already?
That's the repaired second one.
Okay.
Very good mod. Suspension-wise, we haven't changed anything since last year. So basically, it's our full kit with our camber plates, and yeah, that's it. The only difference from the kit you are getting when you are buying it is that I was messing around with tie rod ends combo in order to check if we will get more life out of it. So yeah, that's the only difference.
So, as you should know, this car went from the factory with 2-liter engine. 2.5 liter engine. And yeah, now it's bigger a bit with way more power than stock.
Yeah.
But how about and what about the drivetrain? I think it's not the same as in the factory.
Yeah, it may be a surprise, but it's the very same as with the previous engine, because I managed to kill three Getrack gearboxes, and we've thought, well, it's time for an upgrade. So we've grabbed E46 6-speed with very good price and very low mileage. And then we bumped into an issue. After getting the gearbox and bolting it up to the engine, we thought, well, cool, but we don't have a drive shaft. So, as any reasonable person would do, we haven't bought the drive shaft that is supposed to come with this setup. We thought, well, there is this E46 6-cylinder automatic transmission drive shaft. It's laying around. We don't have anything to put it into, so yeah, let's put it here. And as any reasonable man would do, we had to machine new center support bearing with the obviously mount, because the on the drive shaft itself, like, this bearing is somewhere out here and the bolts to mount it are here, so you know, it doesn't fit. We had to machine this adapter in order to get the length we need. The diff is type 188 stock with this car, axles are also stock from this very car. And yeah, that's funny because I was destroying gearboxes and not axles. And then, while we are seeing that those are stock axles, we can also see our lower control arm, which is adjustable. We can also see maybe our second caliper adapter. And what we can also not see, but I can tell you that we've upgraded lower bushing from the rubber one into a monoball, the very same that is on the top. And also the upgrade I'm very proud of is the rear trailing arm bushing upgrade to monoball, and it gives you the fluidity of motion, the smoothness of motion. You don't, while the arm, it doesn't work like this throughout the travel range, it goes like this. So when you are having rubber bushings, then yeah, you're fine because rubber is soft. But when you are going polyurethane, then the movement, polyurethane doesn't allow this second axis of movement, and you can end up in binding in very drastic cases.
Yeah, and it looks, it's very classic build, not bought, and that comes with a lot of experience putting parts that are not originally in the car. But how about the grip levels? How about the grip itself?
Well, as you can see by the tire wear, it's not ideal. The suspension setup itself is also not grip oriented, but we did this in purpose because I was afraid that we will eventually break something in the drivetrain. So I thought that since we wanted to attend an alt race with as long and to make as much driving as possible, and since anyway alt race is very much stance oriented, we thought, yeah, just put some stiff suspension, more camber, and we'll be fine. And we were fine, yeah. I think that we've finished our tour around the engine bay. You've also have seen the interior and the roll cage. And as for the exterior, nothing really changed since last year. We still are running Qt Sports body kit, the rims are the same. We've changed mirrors, but it wasn't such a good idea. And also the first thing that goes into your eyes is the new livery. I think that it is also an upgrade from last year, and the most important thing in my mind in order to get the vibe with the car that I was aiming for is the spoiler. It is big, we had to shorten it, but it's still big, and yeah, I think that it fulfills the idea that we had behind this car to make it loud and easy to spot.
Thank you very much for watching this video and checking about the progress of this beautiful car. It slides amazing, looks amazing, sounds amazing, and Michał, I think, can tell that from the first hand. And yeah, of course, like, share, subscribe, tell us what you love about this car. You can ask us some stuff if you want also. And yeah, check our shop and see you later. Thanks.